You're listening to Force Majeure, an actual play Star Wars podcast. My name is Adam, and I'm your host. And today's episode will be brought to you after these words from our sponsors.
And now, on to news from the art world. The artiste, ingénue and socialite Lataya Jalan has just opened her latest exhibition at the Salon Caroline. The exhibition, titled Diverging Reflections, uniquely incorporates two curated crystal varieties, some that give off energies that can only be perceived by Myuu, and some that mask parts of the structure from Myuu perceptions, meaning that each art piece is effectively two completely different sculptures depending on the species of the viewer. Some critics suggest that this is in response to complaints about her previous exhibition, The Invisible World, which exclusively used crystal dust and fragments that could only be perceived by Myuu, meaning that only a very select group of people could enjoy it. When pressed for a comment around her inspiration, Latoya told our reporters, "As a Myuu, the vast majority of the art world is imperceptible to me. The oils and canvases of masters of the craft might as well be blank to my sight. My work seeks to redress some of that balance by bringing art to those who see things differently, by not neglecting my own heritage in favour of the majority. Any criticism I have received is simply because the majority of art critics cannot accept that they and their experiences are not the ones being centred for once. That is their problem, and hardly mine. I will continue creating and exhibiting my art for my people, and if that does not meet with their expectations, well, isn't that the point of art anyway? To push boundaries and subvert the status quo? If it doesn't make you talk, is it really art at all?" The exhibition runs at the Salon Caroline for the next 3 weeks. Next up, in business news, Thorncrest Research Solutions announces record profits.
Hi everybody, it's me, Mikey. I'm going to be running this one. It's always best to take away every so often from your forever GMs, just to give them a little bit of time to play. So, with that in mind, I'm going to introduce my players.
Hello, I am Adam, and you will find out who I'm playing as we get things rolling.
Hi, I'm Lou. You've heard me here before.
Hi, my name is Ed Fortune.
Hi, I'm Ross.
We will talk about their characters in a second, but before we do that, we're going to roll a destiny pool. So everybody get their destiny dice and tell me what you get.
That is 2 dark sides from me.
That is 1 light side point from me.
It is 2 light side points from me.
I've rolled 1 light side.
Okay, so that looks to me like a destiny pool of 2 dark side and 4 light side. The system of Ramina, a forgotten relic, a cosmic orphan adrift in the vast emptiness of space. Its existence, only known by the most ancient star charts, has been overlooked by countless generations. Even in the height of the Old Republic, pilots and navigators deemed it too perilous to detour towards and preferred well-trodden paths on galactic trade lanes. For millennia, the system of Ramina remained untouched, their secrets slumbering beneath the silent watch of the universe. Then, as it often does, fate chose to intervene. The colony ship Horizon, a beacon of hope on its way to the Outer Rim, was ripped off its course by a cataclysmic event, hurtling towards the unsuspecting green world of Aremina 3. A fiery meteor, a harbinger of doom, tore its way through the atmosphere, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The once pristine world scarred and forever changed. For the survivors of the crash, the first years on the planet, now named Sanctaris, was tough. But colonists, hoping for a better life on the Outer Rim, are hardy and determined. It was not the home they chose, but it was the home they'd been given, and over the next millennia, undisturbed by the chaos of the rest of the galaxy, the planet Sanctaris flourished. It has been 3,000 years since the crash of the Horizon. Today, the global population is nearly 4 billion. Industry is booming, and the modern Sanctarian lives in a life of relative comfort. Automobiles are commonplace, as well as global transportation by rail, boat or airship. Telephonic devices allow you to talk to people thousands of miles away, and crude automatons are utilised in simple manual labour. 3 days ago, you received a letter inviting you to the estate of your old friend Lord Colonel Lambert Larrow. True to his form, Larrow's note gave you no hints as to the reason behind his invitation, but knowing your old friend as you do, you know the summons will be anything but triviality. As a sleek, six-wheeled automobile pulls into the driveway of the LaRue Manor, you notice it has begun to rain. The cold air biting as you climb from the car and crunch up the path towards the LaRue family mansion. I'm going to start with Adam, I think. Adam, you've just been driven from the main city, the capital city, all the way up in a large car. It's one of these extended yacht-like things. It's about 16 feet long and got 3 wheels and is sleek and expensive. It looks like it's a coiled spring, a cat. If it was in this world, it would probably be made by Jaguar or something like that. You see that it has very curvaceous looking beast of a car.
I'm picturing the car from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the film.
That's exactly what I'm thinking of. It's a dark-looking thing. It is wonderfully opulent inside, and the journey has been fairly uneventful. And as you turn into the drive, you hear the difference in sound between the main road and the gravel path and driveway of the mansion, and that jolts you back into focus, and you see the Gothic beauty of the LaRue mansion. LaRue is one of the wealthiest people in this part of the world, and you can see it in the huge mansion that he has there. It's just getting dark. The twin moons are out, but you see that they are being slowly overtaken by cloud, and the rain starts from this. There has been word on the radio of storms later, but it looks like it's not hit yet. It's probably just in time to get into the warmth and comfort of your friend's house. So you pull yourself out of the car. How does that look? What do you look like? And please introduce your character.
Riccio Balazzari struggles to get out of the car, and what you see first is his left leg, which is in a light grey, well-tailored but clearly off-the-peg suit. And as he's struggling to get out, underneath the lines of the suit around his left leg, specifically his left knee, you can see the boxy imprint of some form of brace strapped to the skin underneath the cloth. He slowly pulls himself out, leaning on his staff of office to help leverage him to his feet. He looks at first glance to be human, maybe late 40s, with light brown skin, which contrasts nicely with the silver-grey, immaculately trimmed goatee he's wearing, as well as the light grey suit and a white Nehru-collared shirt with no tie. He's also wearing the long, sleeveless, light blue robes of a Calanat of the Church of Neridia. He pulls the hood of the robes up over his head, which also obscure the light blue skullcap he's wearing. The skullcap is slightly unusual in that it also has a half veil at the front which comes down to his nose and hides the vestigial empty eye sockets that he knows are a little unsettling to those not of his people. He limps slowly up the driveway towards the entrance of the manor, staff crunching upon the gravel, a slow shuffle. He clearly is favouring his left leg.
I should tell you, Adam, as you walk up the driveway, that the two moons of Sanctaris, Celis and Luma, are out, but Celis is obscured by the clouds. Luma is slowly becoming more and more obscured, so there is more of a silver light as the large sun slowly sinks beneath the trees around the manor.
And the silver light of Celis glitters off very faint but elaborate embroidery in a very thin silver thread all the way through his robes. It's very faint and very subtle, and you can only really see it when it is fully exposed to the light of Celis. And as both of the moons are as Luma is getting more obscured, it glitters slightly more obviously. He can't see very far at the moment, limited as he is to the foresight granted to Miraluka. So he's carefully feeling his way. He's been here a few times, so knows roughly the pathway up, and he can see through the force enough of the surroundings that he knows how to stick on the path and where to go. But beyond the circle...
Something that helps you almost immediately is that as the car comes to a stop, and maybe about 10 seconds after you get out the car and start walking up, the front door opens and it gives you something to focus on in the force. There is what you can tell to be a Duros there, a very tall man who, from your sight, you can sense is the best way of describing him, not to his face, is repression. Everything is tightly controlled in this man, and you felt that feeling before. You felt that sort of emotion before, and in fact, you know who this is because you have seen him before. This is Mr. Tolvin. He is the butler to the LaRue estate.
Rokeo nods, kind of in greeting, leverages himself slowly up the stairs.
Esteemed Calinet, he says, as you approach, it is agreeable to see you. Perhaps you can make your way into the drawing room where the other guests have already arrived.
Yeah, I shall do that very thing. Thank you, Mr. Tolvin.
You can tell from your sight that once that exchange is done, he's kind of done with you. He's got other things he needs to deal with. And as you pass him into the house, the blast of warm air from a house that doesn't really need to worry about fuel costs and the cold is evident. It seems inviting and warming, and you're not the only one in this hallway, but there are maybe about 3 or 4 servants scurrying around getting things sorted. It's obviously there is a dinner going to be arriving, and there is the house is in a hive of activity. So as you make your way into the drawing room, the door to the front of the sleek vehicle opens, and from it, Lou, if you would like to describe your character and a little bit about yourself.
So, stepping out is a Shistavanen, so about a 6-foot-tall, wolf-like humanoid with bright red eyes, an almost bald face, but it's covered in brownish-black skin with pricked ears and similar brownish-black fur covering the rest of the body. They step out with incredible confidence. This is someone who absolutely belongs here. They're dressed in quite a well-fitting suit, but it's clearly designed for practicality rather than formality, and there is a slight bulkiness underneath the jacket, which possibly suggests that there is something underneath there. A small pistol is holstered on the hip, and they walk not through the front door, but they go around to the back.
As you're walking up the drive, you see that Mr. Tolvin just puts his finger up and just coughs, and then beckons you over. If it wasn't raining, he'd probably venture out to talk to you.
Tolvin?
Kuro, it is good to see you. Was the travel acceptable?
Nothing worse than I have ever done before, and in fact significantly more pleasant than many.
We have a concern in the house, he says. Kezor has been missing for a few hours. He went down to the boathouse to, for his lunch, and it's nearly 6. Could you have a look round for him, perhaps, for me?
Of course.
Thank you. It'll probably be fine. He's an old man. He's probably fallen asleep somewhere, but the rain and the cold, we wouldn't want him to get ill.
No, of course we wouldn't.
And strides out very confidently in the direction of the boathouse.
All right, I'll come back to you in a second. Another car pulls up as you're walking away. It is not as grand as the car that you drove in and just arrived, but it is a perfectly luxurious town car of the normal size that one would expect for people of Earth, but a black, very sleek, quite expensive looking thing, just not the monstrosity that you were just driving. It pulls up and the doors open automatically at the back, and stepping out is Ross. Could you describe your character a little bit and tell us a bit about them?
Savriel Sai is a Nautilin. He's dressed in something that will look professional, but economic. It's armour, but so it's definitely a practical garment. But at the same time, it's only best armour. It's the sort of stuff you turn up to meet your clients with, and find out what the what the business is at hand is, with proper euphemisms and things that you can put on an invoice. There is a I suppose a sporting holster for a rifle slung along his back, but in the style of not I suppose not as though he's come for sport, but he doesn't know what he's here for yet. But it's a practical thing to carry a rifle in. Because he's an Ortolan, he's green. He's got head tails which are currently, they're slightly swarming out. They're enjoying the wet atmosphere around him. They're enjoying the rain, and they're sort of moving around in all directions like they're just getting a sense of his surroundings. They're not fully, sensory organs, but they are generally just getting a sense of the atmosphere around and generally sort of getting somewhere. So he looks a bit like a sort of Medusa-like swirl of activity around his head, which sort of gives him an air that he's perpetually a bit distracted. But otherwise, he looks like he knows what he's doing.
At the door to the manor is a very tall, quite imposing-looking Duros dressed impeccably in a dark suit. The Medusa analogy is really good because he is clearly not moving. He has not blinked since you came out. He looks to be waiting for you. He is a man of standing, it seems, but clearly the butler. He waits for you to walk up.
Sabriel walks up. He's comfortable because he has been here before.
Yes.
He walks up, greets Torvin. Torvin, good to see you.
It is very agreeable to see you as well, sir.
Yeah, but Sabriel doesn't really have a coat that he's willing to take off or a hat to dispense, so he's going to simply walk in as he is.
Perhaps you'd like to join the rest of the guests for drinks in the drawing room.
He says, excellent, and walks in. Follows the directions given.
Okay. You head on off to the drawing room. Ed, it's been raining now for a while. It's not been bothering you too much, but you're heading towards the storm rather than away from it. So the weather is getting progressively worse. It is a light shower at the moment, but you can tell very easily that this will turn to something a little bit more violent over the next few hours. I would like you to describe how you arrive, please.
So the first thing we see is not Captain Carter Heek himself, but his mount, which is best described as somewhere between, well, it's not a grasshopper and it's not a bee and it's not an ant, but it is an enormous insect thing. It's actually wonderfully well barded. It's got kind of like beading on the side and it's moving really quickly as we catch, as the light catches, a Tynan, which is a beaver-like, beaver folk person. And he's almost like it's a horse. He's kind of like steering it with his legs and holding the reins carefully. The reins are really there to keep him there rather than to steer the creature, because he's just saying words, clicking and kind of whistling as this enormous, for want of a better description, bee lands, and he dismounts. And the first thing he does is make a massive fuss of the animal itself. Make sure it's fine. It's very fuzzy. And I would go as far to say cute, which is interesting because from a certain perspective, so is Captain Heek. He is a well-groomed Tynan. He has a broad nose. He has pale white fur on his cheeks, necks, hands and feet. The rest of him is ginger, that which isn't covered with claws. He has big green eyes. He has just the right amount of teeth for a Tynan. Tynan consider teeth to be too big is not unattractive, too small is unattractive, just right. It's just the right amount of bucktooth going on there, which, as far as other Tynan are concerned, makes him quite handsome. He is dressed somewhere between an Argentinian gaucho and Indiana Jones, in the sense that he takes off his flying goggles, mounts them on the side of the saddle, and pulls out a large hat that he wasn't wearing in flight because it would have flown off, but he puts his hat on. He has a light white shirt, a very worn looking leather jacket, and riding pants with many pockets. There is a very, very secure gun at his hip in a leather kind of pouch, if you see it. I mean, it's quite clearly, it would be an effort for him to get it out. So it's not meant to be. It's there in case he absolutely needs it. Carries a rope on the other side as well, as he kind of sorts himself out, make sure that he is all present and correct. It's just wet enough as well, so his fur looks almost perfect. He catches himself briefly in the reflective eyes of his mount, preens himself properly, pulls out his badge, which is this innate badge of office, that he just makes sure is secure. He wasn't wearing it at the time, but he realises he's about to go somewhere important, so he just preens slightly, and it's on the lapel of his jacket. It's quite a heavy looking thing as well. It looks like it has more than one function, and just shakes slightly and looks around, just makes sure his mount is tied up properly. He's more fussed about making sure that the bee is fine.
Mm-hmm. The Duros butler, Mr. Tolvin, calls over to you, not loudly, but it carries, and says, Captain Heek, if you would stable the animal and then meet everybody else in the drawing room.
Pleasure, yes.
Very good, sir. And he steps back into the house and closes the door, not on you, but, he's not leaving it open while you go and get everything all sorted, so, and you know your way in. You're not particularly adverse to walking in through the servants' quarters as well as the front door, so you're sent off to go and sort out your bee.
Take it to the stables, tip the stable boy if the stable boy is there, as always.
They don't have a stable boy. The stables is not originally a functioning stable. It was an outhouse that they've put on there for members of your group to come in if need be. But it wasn't originally designed as a stable. So you bed down your bee yourself, essentially. But it doesn't take too long. You're a seasoned hand at this sort of thing. You just need to make sure that they are calm and comfortable before you go into the house. So I'm going to leave you to deal with the bee while I go back into the house and describe the drawing room, which is incredibly elegant and cozy. It is not a massively large room, bigger than most people's apartments, but not a massively large room compared to the rest of the house. It's adorned with comfortable seating, fine art, and there is a huge crackling fireplace at one side. Adam, Ross, you are not the only ones who are walking in this room once you walk in. There are a number of other guests, of which you recognise some. I'll go through who there is and see who you want to, if you want to engage or anything like that, or where you want to sit around. The first person you notice, and the first person anybody notices when she's in a room, is Lady Sephirine Vale. She's a scholar in the Church of Remina, so a intellectual rival of yours somewhat, Adam. She is obviously from the other church that Sanctaris has. She is stunning, but you know that the reason she is stunning is because she's very wealthy and pays a lot of money to be stunning. She is standing by the fireplace, and you know full well, Adam, she's standing by the fireplace so she can be seen rather than anything else. Talking to another man, a mid-40s human. These two are both human, by the way. Mid-40s human who you recognise from a couple of the digs. Captain Sato, who is a former military officer and acts as a relic hunter for the colonel. Also in the room, there is an older lady that you don't necessarily recognise immediately. And it takes a few seconds to realise that this is Eve Thorncrest. She is a representative of the High Council. You don't see her very often in places. She doesn't tend to leave the city because she's a very busy woman. But she is an industrialist, as many of the High Council are, and represents, in situations like this, industry and finance and the like. The last person in the room is a bookish-looking Duros, who you all know as Dr. Finch. He is a historian and archivist for the Horizon League. The Horizon League are a group of relic hunters from the old ship. The old ship is full of history that, frankly, the planet of Sanctaris does not know, and ancient technology, which has on numerous occasions pushed the civilization of Sanctaris forwards with its discovery. So they're a very important group. Leroux is a higher member of the Horizon League and has invited all of you on expeditions, relic hunting previously. They're all in there with drinks, and there is light conversation going on.
Savriel goes to join the Sato and the lady at the fireplace.
Yeah. You know Lady Vale quite a bit. She's very well regarded in the church. She is methodical and careful and has pieced together a number of different mysteries about the crest that weren't necessarily theories beforehand. She is very much a die-in-the-wool Riemann. She is here clearly for the church. She nods to you as you walk up, and a drink is brought to you on a tray by one of the working staff.
Would Lady Vale be someone I have worked with, or would she have been a past employer?
Yes. You've not worked with Sato before, the captain, but you have worked with her.
Okay, I said with or for, is my question.
It would always be for.
Yeah, okay.
She is higher than you in the church.
Yeah, absolutely. I accept the drink then.
It is good to see you, my friend, she says.
Good to see you too, Your Eminence.
Captain Sato, I wonder if you wouldn't mind getting me another drink. She still has a full drink in her hand, but it is clear that she is dismissing him for a second. He smiles, a big smile. I imagine him when I was writing him looking a little bit like John Barrowman. He's kind of a ruggedly handsome captain style, little bit older adventurer type. Of course, my lady, it would be a pleasure. And he walks away. And as he walks away, she pauses, waits a few seconds for him to be out of earshot, and leans in. I'm very happy that you're here, she says. Do you know anything about why we're here?
Not yet, milady. I have not been informed.
Well, it is rumoured that Leroux has found something of vital significance, and for the artifact to fall into anybody's hands apart from the church would be... She pauses and considers her words. Disastrous. Do you understand?
Yes, milady.
Excellent.
It would be regrettable if I did not return the artifact to your site first.
Well, we'll see what he has to offer, and then we will put a... She pauses again and smiles. Offer in herself. How is that? You will back me up if anything is needed to be done?
Absolutely, milady.
Very good. Now, mingle. I don't want to be seen conspiring.
Absolutely. He gives Savriel gives a short bow and goes off to see Mr. Finch. Dr. Finch, was it?
Dr. Finch, yes. Adam.
I think Rukeo wanders into the room and is just taking the atmosphere in at the moment. He sees Lady Vale by the fire and senses immediately, in a way, the waves of hostility that come off her as she sees him.
Mm-hmm.
So he slowly walks over to where the teapot is, leans his staff against the wall, waves away one of the serving staff and makes himself a brew, while actively listening to what's going on in the room and just taking in the atmosphere quietly. There's not a lot of people here at the moment. There are some here that he knows he doesn't particularly get on with, and his friend is not yet around, so he just wants to be calm, be measured. Yes. He's pulled the hood back, and that's kind of now resting against the back of his robes. And once he's made himself a cup of tea, he takes his staff up and he walks over to the doctor.
Yes.
Is the doctor sitting down or is he standing up? Or
he's standing up. He's got his drink. He looks a little nervous, and having met him before, this is because of social situations. He is not really a party person. So to be invited to this, whatever's going on, must be significant.
So I walk over to the doctor and I smile reassuringly.
Oh, yes. Marvellous. Excellent. It's good to see a friendly face. How have you been?
Very well, thank you, Doctor. And yourself?
Yes. It is clear that how have you been was his go-to for small talk. And he's not expecting a response because he wants to make people talk about themselves. Oh, you know, it's been very exciting. I had a sneak viewing earlier. Beautiful it is.
A sneak viewing?
Just to authenticate. It's it looks, and then he pauses and I'm terribly sorry. It feels like we're onto something here.
Ah, so you know the reason we have been gathered then. I wasn't sure if it was to do with your latest monograph on the tidal influences across the southern coast and the ruins that we found there. I found that fascinating, by the way.
Well, as fascinating as that is, this is something that I've not been connected with up until about 3 days ago. But there was an expedition out with Leroux, somewhat of a last-minute thing, through some book that he found. And it seems like they've hit the jackpot. So It seems it's a bit presumptuous of me to say, but you're an expert in these things. I'm an expert in these things. I think we should sit down with Luro later and discuss the future of his find.
Sounds very interesting, very promising.
Now, he is not of any particular church. He is purely interested in the scientific nature of the finds. So it's nice for him to, as a scientist, be going, you're an expert. Let's talk about it from your perspective. Because he won't have done that to Lady Vale.
No.
Probably because he's quite intimidated. The small talk of the room is mostly about people alluding to the fact that they know a little bit more than what they say, but saying nothing. So you kind of get the idea that they're saying this to seem like they're in the know, that they're important, but without actually knowing anything. It's all kind of conjecture.
And I'm used to this because, as well as being a priest, I am a scholar. Yeah. And I am very much used to this sort of one-upmanship within the academic community. And it's not a game that Rikeo can play it, but he chooses not to. Yeah. So he mostly lets the doctor infuse while sipping his tea and occasionally offering to make him a brew and just trying his best to put the doctor at his ease, knowing that he's not good in these kind of situations.
Finch doesn't tend to play the game either, but it's not because of any sort of political machinations, but because he kind of gets a bit infused. So you kind of know when he tells you something, it's because he's excited about something he's actually seen. So he tends not to big himself up. He bigs everything else up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we'll leave the drawing room for a second and go back to Lou. You're crunching across the gravel towards the boathouse. It's not far away. The grounds are extensive, but the lake is quite close to the house. The rain is starting to persist a little bit more, but it's not uncomfortable. It's just a bit of rain.
Yep, I'll turn up the colour of my jacket. That's about the only concession that I make to it.
Yeah, a little bit of rain never hurt anybody. The sun has finally dipped below the horizon. If you weren't surrounded by wooded area, you'd probably be able to see it for a few more minutes, but at this point, the golden glow from the sun diminishes and you're bathed in like a silvery white light as you walk towards the house. It reflects off of the lake far before you see the boathouse being a dark shape just off the lake. You move on to the paths and walk slightly through the gardens. It is a beautiful garden, and you know that the person you're looking for, Kazor, the gardener, has great pride in this garden. He is the manor's head gardener, and his knowledge of fauna, botany, and everything like that is just, he takes a lot of pride in what he does. He's quite an old man, though, so it's not unusual that he might go for a little bit of a nap. So the house is concerned about him more and more as time goes on.
But yeah, it's more the concern of, just not that anything untoward has happened, it's just, is he okay? Has he fallen asleep somewhere where it's cold? Yeah,
exactly. He's an Ithorian, so they do have quite extensive lifespans, but he's an old for an Ithorian in himself, certainly passing a century in his age. You make your way up to the boathouse. The lights are not on. There is one door to it, and obviously the door's to let the boats out into the lake, but there is one door to it, and you see it slightly ajar.
I will go and open the door.
You open the door. It is as you would expect it, but somewhat bereft of anybody. It is dark in there, but you can't feel, when you go into a room and you can sense there's somebody else there just from the like subconscious little noises and like, you can't hear anybody. You certainly can't hear an Icthorian snoring, which is something that people can hear quite.
Yeah, with the two mouths.
Yeah, they're known to be quite heavy snorers, and it doesn't sound like he's asleep in here from your standing at the doorway. In the room, there's about a dozen little boats for about 4 people. They're jolly craft. They are. They're in the summer. It's beautiful on the lake, and there is the option to go boating. The lake's probably only 100 meters across by maybe 40 meters. It is it's been built here rather than was here when the house was built.
I will take a scan around the boathouse, turn lights on if there are any, just to check if I could see anything about where he was and, if necessary, where he's gone. And if he's not in here, then I will go out and just take a brief tour of the gardens, keeping ears out as much as eyes.
Surely. So we're going to have the first roll of the game. I would like you to do a difficulty 2 perception roll.
That is 2 advantage. No successes, but 2 advantage.
What would you like your advantage to be? So you haven't found anything of significance, or the thing I thought you might find. But what would you like your advantage to be? You could just save them to do for a further roll if nothing occurs to you. But
Yeah, I'll save them for the time being. See if anything.
just make a note that you've got those for your next roll. Excellent. You don't spot him anywhere. You can tell that somebody has been here and eaten a meal because you're whilst that was looking around for him, you can smell that sort of thing. You've got quite a good sense of smell being who you are, but no idea about where he might be. The door to the boat house is open. The boat into the lake is also open as well, which is unusual because certainly in a storm that should have been closed.
Does it look like it's blown open, or...?
It is creaking in the wind, but it doesn't look like it is. It is literally, it's almost like a garage door, like a double thing that opens out and can be wound back in with a crank. So it is a difficult thing to blow open, but it will move when the wind is up.
Are all the boats there?
Yeah. There's about, as I think I said, half a dozen or so, but they're all set and tied off as you would expect.
Yep, I would like to secure the boathouse door, because you can't leave that blowing in the wind, potentially causing additional damage.
Yeah.
And then I will take a quick tour of the garden to see any sign where he might have gone.
All right.
Maybe taking a look back in like his cottage or something, just to see if he's made his way back by himself.
Okay, which one are you going to go to first? The garden's expensive. You could go for a little bit of the garden to his cottage, or you can go and have a look.
I'm going to go to his cottage first, because as you say, the gardens are expansive. But yeah, I'll have a quick look in his cottage first, and then do a quick tour of the garden. If I can't see him, then I will return to the house.
You head over to his cottage. The light is on, which is a good sign. But as you get there, whilst the door is closed, it's not a very big place. It's very cosy, but he's got one room and then a bedroom. And without even going in, you can see into those rooms, and you can't see him there. For a second, there's a little bit of anxiety where you reach up, you're quite tall, and you can't see him on the floor either, because that is you don't like to think it, but it could happen. He's quite old, and it kind of sets you mind at rest that he's not just lying in his cottage. But he's not there. The fire is on, but that is a solar fire rather than the big roaring fire inside, which probably came on automatically as the temperature dropped down. But he doesn't seem to have been here for a while. You could go inside and have a proper look, or go into the garden.
No, I don't think so. I think actually what I will do is I will return to the house.
Yeah.
Actually, and see if I can find a couple of members of junior staff to go, and maybe his junior gardeners or whatever, to go and have a look for him and do a more pressing sweep. But given what's going on, I would prefer to be in the house and making sure that Mr. LaRue is safe and secure.
Excellent. Okay, so you start heading your way back through. Ed, you enter the drawing room and see, as I was described before, there are a number of different luminaries from various different things. You notice that everybody's drinking, everybody is somewhat nervous as to what might be coming, but it's very, very social. What do you do?
So Captain Heek will have already obtained a glass of something on his way from the stables through to the kitchen. He would have been distracted briefly by the kitchen staff, because he's been there several times, and because he's a details sort of guy and, kind of charismatic, would have remembered people, so would have, slightly got distracted by a conversation. And on the one hand, he's being affable and polite, but on the other hand, it's also, I will talk to you because if there's something going on, you probably know. But it doesn't come across like that. It comes across like, hi, how, the last time I saw you, you were talking about your kids. How are they? Sort of thing. And it's a mix of those two things.
So you bump into the housekeeper, who is a Nemodian called Fu Tolin. Now, you might notice that she's got the same name as the butler. Tolin is a Nemodian name, and they're a married couple. She's very pleased to see you. She gets you a drink and is very inviting for you to be there, but you can tell by the fact that once you are settled with a drink, she shoos you out of the kitchen, that she is busy. She likes you, but she doesn't have time for you.
And 100% is not like Captain Heek is not in the way, but has also added that to his, that's a useful piece of information, that's a useful piece of information. And again, none of this is like, it's instinctive, it's part of who he is, rather than I will investigate this place. He's not like that, he's more like, this is how you behave. So as he walks into the room, he realises that things are perhaps busier than they would, even though there's a party going on, there's something going on, and he's watching the social dynamic. He's immediately clocked LaRue because he's, because his horizon.
LaRue's not there. LaRue is not there yet. No, he has not arrived.
Oh, he was the Horizon League guy.
No, that is Finch. He is talking to a priest of the Neridian Church, who you've seen before. He's been on a couple of digs. You passing acquaintance. The people you do know are Captain Sato, who is a human relic hunter. He's not part of your organisation, but he could be. He's crossing across towards Lady Vale, who everybody knows, who is talking to a Nautolan who, you've seen around, is a mover and shaker, but you don't necessarily know.
He's less interested in the priest simply because nothing's that broken yet that you need a priest. And more looking at Sato. What does Ross's character look like?
That's the Nautolan you've just seen.
That's the Nautolan.
Yeah.
I will spend a little time taking in the dynamics of where things are going.
I was going to say, one person you definitely do recognise is Eve Thorncrest from Thorncrest Industries. She is on the High Council. You're surprised to see her here because she tends not to leave the city, but you've worked for her on numerous occasions, essentially as a solar engineer in some of their further out solar collection sites. She's a little bit matter of fact. She tells people exactly what she thinks, but I was about to say she's good people. She's not bad people. She is. It's all business with her. But she notices as you walk in, she's sitting down in one of the very comfortable armchairs and raises her drink to you to acknowledge you.
Carter Heek goes over, and the first thing he says is, "Oh, good to see you here. How is Ginger," which is the name of their loft cat?
She seems a bit taken aback because she is on the High Council. People never usually introduce themselves and ask about their cat. So she stops for a second. She's not expecting small talk of that magnitude. She says, the kittens are doing very well. Thank you for asking. And that's genuine. That is a guard goes down almost immediately. You social manipulator, you.
People aren't interesting, cats are. It's how he thinks.
And bees? How is your, I would like to say, pet?
Apie is doing fine. She's patrolling now, 3 patrols under her belt, and first storm without panicking. So doing very well, and little bit of activity over the borders, but not much. Nothing to report.
She falls back into the normal sort of social small talk and says, "Oh yes, the weather does look to be quite heavy. I imagine we might be having a storm."
I think we're about to have quite a big one. There's definitely something coming. I feel it in my whiskers.
Well, I've known to trust your whiskers over these years.
I'll continue with the small talk and also do that party thing where you're keeping a slight eye on everyone else to see what's going on. But it's not like a mine for information. I'm not trying to find anything particularly out. Merely the fact that they're there is interesting.
Yep, small talk is given. She gives nothing away other than the fact that the cats are doing very well. She is well versed in this sort of thing. It's clear to you that what she's looking forward to is whatever is happening here. The fact that she has been brought out here is a surprise, especially if she was given the same missive as you. There were no details on the letter, so the fact that she's even here is incredible. Lou, as you walk back through the kitchens and into the house, Mrs. Tolvin looks a little bit worried at you and says, "No sign of him?"
Nothing, unfortunately.
Hmm.
He was clearly there, but he has not returned home. I've organised some of the juniors to go and start looking for him.
Well, the master is going to be doing his presentation shortly. If you would go and stand with him, I'll send some of the kitchen staff out after the starters have been set.
I'm sure there's nothing to be concerned about. He's likely just fallen asleep under a tree.
It won't be the first time, but this weather.
I know.
She puts a kind hand on your shoulder. She's not really the sort of person to make any signs of affection, apart from if you know her. You are considered to her to be part of her family. Herself and Mr. Tolvin, who you do not know the first name of. It is so weird. And as I've mentioned before, probably don't know his second name either, because Tolvin is not a Duros name. Didn't have children, and they consider this house and the staff here to be their family. Not necessarily children. They're not infantizing you or anything like that, but family.
It's not weird.
It's not weird. It isn't. They're kind, nice people, and they like you and the rest of the staff there.
Yeah. I will pat her hand.
Go in, get yourself a drink, and we'll go look for him in 15 minutes once the presentation is over. You make your way into the drawing room, assuming that's where you go.
Yep, that's, and just unobtrusively go and stand next to the fire.
Yeah.
More to get dry and warm than anything else.
Yeah. As you walk across the hall, you see LaRue making his way down the stairs. He's probably coming from either the library, in fact, more than likely from the library, because he is with Rilo Dusk, the Twilight librarian. Rilo is carrying a box, probably about 30 centimeters by about 15 centimeters, an ornate wooden box with him, and they make their way down the stairs. You can tell that Rilo is being incredibly careful with this.
In which case, scratch that, I will hold the door for him.
LaRue nods to you as he makes his way to the bottom of the stairs. Ah, yes, this is going to be fun, he says. LaRue is probably in his about 60s. He's human as well. He has a very well taken care of beard, covering his neck completely and down to his shoulders. He has short hair brushed back. He has a twinkle in his eye, and he's always smiling. He is wearing a quasi-military uniform. It's clear he's retired and wants people to know he was part of the military, but it is not a military uniform. It is a military cut with a couple of medals on it. I can't wait to see their faces, he says. You have no idea what he's got in this box.
Best of luck, sir.
This is the fun bit, he says as you open the door for him and he steps in. Everybody, this is Colonel Lambert LaRue. He is a high-up member of the Horizon League. He has been a friend of yours for a number of years, given however your connections are, and I'm sure that will come out later. He is a charismatic, fun-loving, adventurous type on the outside, and a man with a passion for basically for the mystery of the planet. He has at occasions stayed up until 2 a.m. with you smoking cigars, drinking brandy. He is the first one up in the morning when you're on an expedition, or at least everybody apart from Lou thinks he's the first one up in the morning on an expedition. You know there's about 3 people up already before him to get him up and make sure because he's getting on in age and he is not an easy early riser, but he used to be, and he likes to get that sort of out that he is first into the breach. As he enters the room, he smiles around it, but rather than just doing a look, I'm here, I'm smiling, he looks at every single one of you, and as he catches your eye as he smiles. And as he walks in, he's with a Twi'lek with little tiny glasses attached on just to the top of his nose, dressed in very respectable tweeds. He is the librarian of the manor, and he's carrying an ornate dark wooden box with both hands holding it up. There seems to be a bit of a heft to it. Ladies and gentlemen, says LaRue, it is pleasing to see you all, and I very much enjoy your company on a day-to-day basis, but today I have something a little bit special. Shall we go into the dining room? And he leads his way through a door in the drawing room into the dining room, which has been set out for an opulent meal. Seats are taken, and LaRue stands at the head of the table with a box placed on the where his place would be. There are no knives and forks where he is. There are knives and forks and everything else where you are. I should say the dining room is, as you'd expect it, an opulent room with plenty of room for 15 people to be around the table, with enough room for serving staff to walk around. And as you sit down, the first starter, of course, is brought, which is a soup placed in front of you. Again, LaRue has nothing. I imagine, Lou, you walk in and find a comfortable place to the edge just to observe everything, being who you are.
Yep, go and, take an unobtrusive spot in the corner.
I will take a seat close to the Colonel, because if I'm too far away down the table, I won't be able to see him. So I need to kind of be at least fairly close.
Once you get closer to LaRue, you notice something that I'm sure nobody else has noticed. The box is intense. As you gaze upon it, it pulses through the little cracks around the side, a dark purple light, and pulses like a heartbeat. You can see like it kind of waving in and out of this light. It casts an eerie glow on what you perceive to be the table, and whatever's inside is strong with the Force.
No one can see because of the veil that's covering the top half of my face.
Yes.
But I wrinkle my kind of nose and forehead a little. You know, if I had eyes to squint, I would be squinting cautiously. But I don't, so I can't.
Yeah, you focus on it. It's difficult to really sense it with the box being closed, but there is definitely something in there of great power.
I was actually about to say, so Heek's current thoughts are, well, this could easily go wrong, because that's his default setting. And the other one is, like, paying attention to the people and how the people are responding. Honestly, he's expecting something grisly to be in the box, and is more interested in how people will respond to the grisly thing. But also, there's just a little bit in his brain that's saying, this might explode. This might be some important piece of infrastructure that someone has decided is a treasure. Let's just wait and see what this actually is.
By contrast, Savriel he'll be looking around at the people around him like he's having a conversation, but his head tails will be pointing generally towards the box. They're not subtle about the fact that he's curious about what's in it, and he's not. It's obvious where he's not very good at masking this sort of attention.
How does it smell? Does it smell organic?
You can't really. You can roll me a perception check.
Cool. Difficulty
2 again.
2 successes and 1 advantage.
Okay, I'll tell you what the success is, and then you can decide what the advantage is. It doesn't really smell at all, but what you notice is, like when there's suddenly no sound in a room and it seems very intrusive, like the lack of sound is almost loud.
His hair stands on end.
Oh yeah, every time, as you look at it, you can feel a rhythmic lack of sound from it. It's weird because the room it's still, people are sitting down and there's small talk going on, but as you focus, the small talk kind of mutes itself, and you feel this kind of boom, 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 but there's no sound.
Can I spend my advantage on clocking that there's a priest in the room who's also noticed that there's something already going on?
Yeah, you could do that. Adam's not being too subtle about it. Adam, you won't have this connection yet. Yeah. Oh, they clearly are focused on it.
Yeah, they don't have an eye to catch, but like just that moment of connection of oh.
Yeah, you've probably seen my head tilt, if nothing else, towards it.
Adam, you don't get this yet, but you will do. That sound is the heartbeat of the light. When the light goes, there is a lack of sound.
Yeah.
Nobody has touched their soups. Everybody is looking at the box. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues and friends, LaRue begins, his voice resonant and a little bit joyous. Tonight I have the honor of presenting you an artifact of profound mystery and beauty. He opens the box. The room is flooded with a purple, dark light. It's a weird way of saying it, but it kind of adds kind of depth to the room. It's a very deep purple. There is a deliberate flourish as he does it, revealing a prism, probably about the same size, and not uncoincidentally as a human heart. It's multifaceted. Its black crystal surfaces catch the candlelight and the firelight, casting faint, dark violet glows that dance across the room. The intricate swirling carvings in the metal frame, it's in a metal frame. On every single edge has a metal line on it, that look like it might be made of stained glass triangles, if you know what I mean. They kind of stuck them all together. Have intricate swirling carvings on it that seem almost alive. And everybody can see this now. The light is pulsating. This object, says Leroux, is roughly the size of a human heart and is vastly more than it appears. He picks the prism up with his hand and pulls it out from the box, which is held in with like a lush purple velvet. Its mysterious light and low resonant hum that it emits when touched, and you can feel it as he picks it up. The lack of sound kind of amplifies, and you don't need to have rolled to get this. You can hear that it's muting the sound around it. Captivated our imagination and curiosity. We know little of its origin or its true power, but we're drawn to its enigmatic beauty. You can tell he's written this. He knows that he's going to be presenting it. He doesn't usually use words like enigmatic beauty, but he's taken with it. He pauses, letting his words sink in, his gaze sweeping across the captivated faces of the guests. The prison of Karaf whispers to us in the potential for ancient secrets and lost knowledge, waiting to be uncovered. Though we must handle it with the utmost care, we must also approach its wonder and curiosity, and within it lay echoes of a time long before, and perhaps an understanding to our own history. Everybody is quiet. It's got its own energy source. It's making the room into like a beautiful purple disco almost, fighting against the candlelight on the table and the firelight, making the room ominous and dark and kind of it feels weird, more so every time you look at the item. Leroux's voice falters. Suddenly his hands rise, reaching up to his throat. His eyes widen in shock and sudden pain. The hand he was holding the crystal in drops it to the table, and it thuds heavily on the table, not moving, just lands. You can see he's struggling to breathe, just for a second, and then something that nobody expected happens. He's standing up already, and he raises very, very slightly, like he's standing on tiptoes for a second, and then off the ground, as he is lifted a few feet into the air, his feet dangling as he continues to struggle to breathe. The once commanding and charismatic leader of the Horizon Society, helpless, his face contorted in agony, the room filled with sounds of his choking, a haunting reminder of the unseen power at play. It seems like a moment, but everybody is frozen in time. Apart from you, Lou, what are you doing?
I am going to run forward and try to pull him down, essentially.
You run for him and grab. I would like another roll from you, please. As he's about 1.5 foot off the ground. He's not a light guy. He's a properly well broad-shouldered kind of fella. I would like a brawl athletics roll, please. Just difficulty 2. So from what I see on there, we've got 2 green and 2 purple. You've got your advantages from the last one as well. You can put 2 advantages on there if you like.
Yes, I would like to put, a couple of boosts on that.
Yeah, boost, sorry.
Wash.
All right. You grab hold of him, but you're not able to pull him down from the... It's not like he's pulling upwards. It's like he's static in the air, unable to move left way and right. His eyes lock against you with a silent plea for help. Whatever's gripping on him grips tighter, and with a final strangling gasp, his body, as you can tell, goes limp. The lights go out. And that's where I'll end today's session.
Force Majeure is played using the Star Wars Force and Destiny game system by Edge Studios. Our intro music is by the amazing Sly Fox Audio. Check out more of her work at soundcloud.com/SlyFoxAudio. Our outro music is Suburban Outlaw instrumental version by Forget the Whale, used with gratitude under a Creative Commons license. Many of the sound effects and soundscapes are created using Sirenscape. because epic games need epic sounds. If you're enjoying the show and want to support us, there's 3 ways you can do that. The first is by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/forcemajeurepod, where for as little as $1 a month you get access to outtakes, adverts, various other stuff, and my fortnightly ramblings. You can drop us a coffee at ko-fi.com/forcemajeurepod, or you can leave us a rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to interact with us, there's a few ways you can do that. We are on the social medias, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter as @forcemajeurepod, and we're over on Mastodon as @forcemajeurepod at dice.camp. You can also join our Discord, link in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening and being with us as we tell these stories. We hope you are having fun, and we will see you next time.